The Beginner's Guide to Friendship Bracelets is a collection of photo tutorials for beginners that will take you all the way from the basics to the more advanced stuff. It is now available for purchase worldwide anywhere you typically buy books, and there is also a direct link in the description. Hello, my name is Masha, and today I want to teach you how to make this beautiful bracelet. This is such a fun and unique bracelet to make, and also it looks probably even better on the other side. I was gonna say just as good on the other side, but honestly, I kind of like the other side more on this bracelet. It kind of gives the bracelet dimension that isn't there on the side that you normally view friendship bracelets at. But whatever side you decide to wear it and use it on, I think this bracelet just looks absolutely fantastic, and it's actually super easy to make. In fact, it uses less knots than the average friendship bracelet because you've got all this string dragging along, so it's probably going to be even faster for you to make than a regular friendship bracelet. This bracelet is very much beginner friendly. However, I do recommend that you start by making a chevron bracelet first, because this pretty much is the chevron bracelet, but with minor variations. But it would be helpful for you going into this tutorial if you already have experience making regular chevron bracelets. Going into this tutorial, I also expect that you know how to make the basic knots, which I have a separate tutorial that'll be linked in the card and in the description, as I will mostly be naming knots to make rather than showing you how to make them. But all that being said, let's actually get into this tutorial. You can use however many colors you want for this bracelet. The more colors you use, the bigger the bracelet will be and the longer it will take you to make it. I'm going to be using 6 colors this time, and I'm going to be using the rough colors of the rainbow. You need to cut 2 strings per color and have those strings be roughly 1 meter in length. And you also want to choose the order of your colors carefully, choosing the 2 colors, in my case red and purple, that are going to be used for the biggest sort of chevron part of the bracelet, and then the other colors are going to be alternating between the 2. Now that I've cut my strings, I've also arranged them on my desk. I find that the best way to start this bracelet is to just start it without doing anything fancy, no knots, no anything. I've just taped the strings down, but don't forget to leave roughly 15 centimeters of string to make ties out of later. For me, those are just outside of the screen, and they're also taped off. Arrange your strings symmetrically in the order that you want to see them in the bracelet, with the outermost strings, in my case the red, the ones that you want to see as the first longest chevron. So I've got all 6 of my colors arranged symmetrically, with purple being in the middle. And that's actually the ones that we're going to start with. So this bracelet is actually just a chevron. So if you know how to make that, this is going to be super easy. We start with the 2 strings in the middle, the purple strings, and we're going to do a knot between them. Since there's 2 strings of the same color, it can be any knot. I'm going to do a forward knot. We then grab the 2 strings closest to them. For me, it's this teal color. And we're just going to do a chevron with the teal strings into the center, which means we're going to do a forward knot on this string, a backward knot with this on this, and once both of the teal strings are in the center, we're going to do a knot between them. I'm doing a forward knot. Next, we bring out the 2 strings that are closest to the center after that. For me, that's the green. And again, we're just doing a chevron with the green strings onto the strings in the center. So on the left side, we're going to do 2 forward knots, first on the purple, then on the teal. On the right side, the green string is going to do 2 backward knots, first on the purple, then on the teal. And then once they reach the center, both green strings are going to make a knot together. In my case, that's going to be a forward knot. Let's bring out the next string. That's the yellow for me. Now the yellow strings are going to do a chevron into the center. This time on the left it's going to be 3 forward knots, on the right it's going to be 3 backward knots, and then we meet the yellow strings in the center. And we're going to continue doing that for however many colors we have left. In my case, it's just 2, so I'm going to do that for the orange. I'm going to do a chevron, meet the orange strings in the center, do a knot between them, and then I'm going to do the same for the red, and that's going to be the largest chevron. Alright, so now that first leaf is done. Let's talk about how to continue. This will be the part where you rewind to if you're repeating this tutorial, because that first knot that we did where we connected the two strings at the beginning of the tutorial is actually already done here. That would be the knot between the two middle strings. We did that first knot as part of the last chevron, so we're actually going to skip that part here, and we're going to go straight in with the second part, which is let's bring out the two closest strings, in my case that's orange, and let's do a chevron shape with them. So again, that just means on the left side it is a forward knot, on the right side it is a backward knot, and then the two orange strings will meet in the center. And do a knot together. And really, it's the exact same concept. You just continuously bring out the strings that are closest to the chevron that you just made. These are yellow strings in my case now, and you do a chevron with the strings you just brought out onto the strings in the center. One thing to note is that you're going to be quite careful with the first knot here. It was a little bit easier at the beginning because we hadn't actually started making the bracelet yet, but once you've started making the bracelet and you're connecting the two leaves onto each other, you want to be very careful with that first knot because you don't want to over tighten it, because if you do, it kind of pushes the bracelet closer together, whereas you want that leaf effect with the strings dragging along. So the first knot you do on either side, which is the one that I'm doing now, you want to be quite gentle with, and you don't want to like over tighten it too much. See how we've got yellow strings that are dragging across? That's what we want. So now I've taken out the closest strings to the chevron, which are now green, and we're going to be making a chevron with those. And again, on that first knot, I'm going to be very gentle. I don't want to over tighten it, and I want it to look just right. It might take a little bit of practice to figure out the exact right tension, but you just don't want to be too hard on it. And I'm going to continue doing that, bringing out the next color and doing a chevron into the center until I run out of strings. Alright, that second leaf is now complete. To continue making the bracelet, you just have to repeat the steps for this piece over and over again. There are timestamps on this video for you to scroll back and easily rewatch that part of the video. Of course, the colors will change with every other leaf that you do, but the basic principle remains the same, where you start off with the two strings in the center, bring out the two strings closer to them, and continuously bring out strings and make a chevron. I'm gonna go finish my bracelet off camera and I'll see you once I'm done. And this is what the bracelet ends up looking like. As I mentioned at the beginning, I think this bracelet looks amazing from the front, but it probably looks even better from the back just because it has that extra dimension of all of the knots. Either way, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. This is such a fun and unique bracelet to create. I had an absolute blast with it. It didn't really take me that long because there are so many different knots missing. It really did just fly by. I did twisted ties at the ends of this bracelet on both sides. I have a separate tutorial for that, which I will link to in the description to save time in this video. If you make this bracelet, make sure to tag me on Instagram. I would love to see your creations. And that really goes for any tutorial of mine that you watch. If you're looking for more ways to learn, my book, The Beginner's Guide to Friendship Bracelets, is now out worldwide. It's a collection of photo tutorials for beginners from the very basics to more advanced stuff, and you can buy it anywhere you typically buy books. I'll also have a direct purchase link in the description if you want to purchase through my publisher. I also want to give a special shout out to my patrons and especially my top supporters. It is with their support that I'm able to create videos for this channel, so thank you so much. And if you also want to become a patron and support the work that I do on this channel, the link to my Patreon is in the description. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!